In this lesson, we will be looking at what is a ratio and how to write a ratio as a fraction. A ratio is a quotient of two quantities. A ratio is actually just a fraction. The only difference between a ratio and a fraction is you can write a ratio in three different ways. So, for example, the ratio of 1 to 2 can be written as 1 to 2 or 1 over 2, which is a fraction, or 1 colon 2. So as you can see, a ratio is a fraction, but you can write it in three different ways. Alright? Some examples of ratios are, for example, say if I have 3 squares to 5 circles, then I can write that ratio as 2 to 5. Alright. Say in a classroom of 20 people, there are 5 girls and 15 boys. The ratio would be 5 girls to 15 boys. Remember that a ratio is a fraction, quotient is fraction, of two quantities. Alright? And that's pretty much what a ratio is. Let's take a look at a couple of things I want you to be able to do with ratio. One of the things is how to simplify ratio. So, given a ratio of $15 to $10, write this ratio as a fraction in simplest form. So we start off by writing this as a fraction. Okay. Remember that 1 to 2 is 1 over 2, 1 to 2. So $15 to $10 as a ratio is 15 over $10. And then the dollar sign will cancel out. Alright, so the same unit will cancel out. 15 can be reduced. 15 is 5 times 3. Right, you prime factor 15. You prime factor 10. 10 is 5 times 2. The 5 cancels out. So 3 over 2 is the simplest form of the ratio 15 to 10. Very good. Let's do the next example. The ratio of 2.6 to 3.1 as a fraction in simplest form. First, we write it as 2.6 over 3.1. When given decimal, the next thing you have to do is you have to shift, especially for a ratio, you need to shift the decimal point so that the ratio become whole numbers. So 2.6 shifting the decimal point brings us to 26. 3.1 shifting the decimal point brings us to 31. And we're done. Alright, so when given fraction that involve decimal, we need to shift the decimal point so that they become whole numbers, and then if needed, then we reduce, otherwise we're done. Alright, the last big one. We have a ratio of two mixed numbers, 1 and 1/5 to 2 and 2 over 7. Write the ratio as a fraction. So we start off by writing it as 2 and 2 over 7 over, 1 and 1/5 goes on top. And then this bar right here, this is the tricky part. This bar means division, so we write it as a division problem. And remember that when we divide, we have to convert each into a fraction, improper fraction. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 1 is 6, so 6 over 5 divided by 7 times 2 is 14 plus 2 is 16, so 16 over 7. And also divide is to multiply by the reciprocal, so we go 6 over 5 times 7 over 16, cross cancel, 3 over 8, multiply straight across, 21 over 40.